Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining me today for our webinar on FHO optimization and outside use management strategies. We have a great presentation for you today to give you guys a high-level overview of some of the tips and tricks that we provide our clients on how to better optimize their practice, and specifically speak about outside use and some of the tricks that we have implemented with our clients to better manage and really keep track of what's going on within your practice. So let's go ahead and get started today. So we have some new people in the presentation today, which is great. So just a little bit more about Cirrus. Founded back in '94, headquartered in Toronto. Two major capacities within our company is office lease negotiations across North America for all healthcare practitioners, and then our healthcare consulting division based here in Toronto that provides billing and operational support for physicians, both on the individual and group level. So the purpose of today's program is to guide you through the FHO income streams, to give you a better understanding of the program, how your income is reflected, and give you hopefully some tips on creating a little bit more flexibility within your schedule. Give you an understanding of where your practice income is coming from, and leave you with a much clearer picture of what the FHO is all about. So how exactly are you paid? So the FHO is a funding model whereby you are receiving a monthly capitation payment for the patients that you have rostered. Now, similar to, or not similar to the fee-for-service world where you're getting paid every time you see a patient, you're now being essentially prepaid to be responsible for the patient, to have those patients rostered to you. You're the responsible physician. You're getting paid a yearly fee broken down on a monthly basis, and that's your sort of guaranteed income, or your salary, if you will. And so rather than being compensated on volume, you're now being primarily paid to focus on medically necessary visits and the complex care, and keeping those patients that don't need to come into the office out of the office, and ones that do need to come in the office. And that speaks to how it's going to relate to outside use, and how we want to keep spots open for those that are medically necessary and not bring back all those prescription renewals or people that don't really need to be in the office. Bottom line is throughput versus access. So no longer is it a well-oiled machine where you're seeing people in and out, in and out, in and out, but rather providing access to those that are medically necessary. So the different income streams, so we have the capitation payments, again, related to your roster, your fee-for-service, so every time you do see those patients, you're still getting paid a little bit. Your access bonus, which relates to your outside use, your shadow billing, your preventive care, and your special premiums. And we're going to touch on most of these as we go along. So capitation payments, roughly about $200 per year per patient. And again, that's going to be based on the age and sex of the patient. So someone who has a very elderly practice is going to have higher capitation payments on average, and someone who has a little bit younger patients is going to have a little bit lower. But 200 is in and around the average that we see with our clients and what we see in Ontario. It covers 126 fee codes that are considered in-basket, sort of your standard care, your A7s, if you will. And then anything that you're providing to patients other than the 126 is considered out of basket, and you're still getting paid that full fee-for-service value. So that's your diabetic care, for example. Broken down into a base rate and a comprehensive care. Now, some of you have come from the FIG model, or maybe you even are in the FIG model right now. You're aware of that comprehensive care payment, the smaller of the two. That's what you're getting. And then once you move into the FHO model, you're getting that base rate payment. Something also to keep in mind for some physicians who have very large practices, anything above 2,400 patients, a lot of people think that all their capitation gets cut in half, but no, it's only the comprehensive care. So that smaller of the two gets cut in half, just for the patients that are above 2,400. So it's not your whole roster, it's just those that are above the 2,400. So as a breakdown in a chart, you can see babies are worth just under $200, give or take 175. They continue to drop down as they age, and then around 14, 15, females start to pick up again. And for males, it's about in their early 30s that they start to pick up again as well. So a lot of physicians say, when should we roster? Should we roster babies? And really, every physician is going to be different. Every patient is going to be different because you never know what the patients are going to be requiring from you. Who knows what they're going to need, how often they're going to come see you. If there's a baby that was born and, God forbid they're really sick and they're going to come see you a lot, probably doesn't make sense to roster them if they're going to see you more than 10 times, let's say, in a year. But if they're, very healthy and patients are, the patient's family, the parents are not neurotic and going to be bringing the patient in every day, then yeah, roster them right away. And you might as well take advantage of the new baby fee, the Q015 that you're going to get on top of your A7 visits and in addition to all the vaccinations that you're going to be giving. So it does make sense to keep those patients rostered, assuming they're healthy and they're not going to be coming in too frequently. And same goes for middle-aged and older patients too. And that's how we sort of look at both outside use and inside use. We want to look at that cost-benefit analysis of when does it make sense to financially de-roster a patient because they're coming to see you too frequently or they're going to the walk-ins too frequently. All of those tips and tricks is what we provide our clients with. So roster management is very important, especially in the FHO model, because the roster is the biggest driver of income. Roughly 75% on average is what you're earning on a monthly basis from your capitation payments, which is linked to your roster. So having the right balance of roster size and being able to provide access to your patients is very key. Because, yeah, anyone could roster, 4,000 or 5,000 patients, but if you're not able to provide care for them, that you're not doing anybody any good service there. The ministry is going to look at you a little bit more strictly, and we want to keep the roster size to something that's manageable. You want to be able to provide that optimal patient care. Something that we do with our clients is a roster reconciliation. So we check your MOH roster that you're getting through your MCEDT account on a monthly basis versus your EMR roster that you have in your computer. And we want to see who those patients are that are missing from your ministry roster that you believe to be roster. And we have that all the time where we see physicians that have, let's say 1,500 patients on their EMR roster, but only 1,200 patients on their ministry roster. Where are those 300 patients? Who are those 300 patients? We can provide you with that information to help optimize your roster and get that roster reconciliation and clean up your roster and make sure that you have everyone rostered that you believe to be. So as they remove some rostering codes, there are still a few. Q200, obviously, you still need to, as you see down in the star, Q202 for long-term care patients. And then there's a few for unattached patients, new patients, FOBT positive, and the complex vulnerable. Those are the few that are still remaining, but still very important. Q200, an absolute must for all your patients. So what's the financial impact of roster reconciliations? Now, a lot of people are going to say to me, well, I don't know, it's just a few patients here and there, but it adds up very quickly. I mean, as you can see, 25 missing patients, which is very easy to find, that's an extra $5,000 a year. Now, I'm pretty sure most people are going to say, yeah, sure, I'd love an extra $5,000 a year on my paycheck. So why not do a little cleanup, a little checking to see who's rostered, who's not, and get those missing patients. As I said, ensuring that the patients you're seeing are actually rostered when they should be. If you've derostered them because of outside use, great. We're going to leave them off. If you've derostered them because of high inside use, great. We're going to leave them off. But it's those patients that come to see you once a year that really should be rostered, or your diabetics, or your smokers. Patients that have that complex care that you're going to get the out-of-basket codes for anyways, that you want to have that capitation as well. So a little bit about fee-for-service now. So we can look at it in two groups, enrolled patients and non-enrolled. So first on the left, your enrolled patients. You have obviously your capitation, your shadow billing for your in-basket services, but you also have out-of-basket services that you can get, and you're going to get paid that full value, 100% of the fee codes, again, such as your diabetics, your smokers, congestive heart failure, things like that, the complex care that you're providing to your patients, you're still going to get that full value. And with your non-enrolled patients, you're going to get the full value no matter what. Now, the in-basket services is highlighted there because after the first year of practice, there's a limit on how much in-basket services you can bill for your non-rostered patients that you're seeing. So they don't want you to be running too much of a walk-in clinic. They want you to roster the patients that you're actually seeing. So, but within the first year, there's no hard cap for your practice. I don't know if any of you are within your first year, but you don't have to worry about that. But it is important to note that, if you have any, friends or colleagues that are creating FHOs or joining FHOs, that they're aware of that. And it's something that we track for all of our clients on a regular basis to make sure that they're not hitting their levels. It is pooled together at the group level, so if you have a larger group and, one physician is doing a lot of, quote-unquote walk-in work and everyone else is not, then there's really not going to be any issue there. But we do keep track. So some of the key out-of-basket areas that we focus on, as I've mentioned a few times, diabetic management, smoking cessation, and after hours too is a very big one that we want to make sure that people are aware of when providing after hours care, that they're billing the right codes at the right times, matching the Q012 with the codes that are available, and really maximizing income based on the care that you're providing. So as we spoke about diabetic management, there was a slight change, last year in October where they have a minimum of 3 visits of the K030 before you can bill the Q040. A lot of our clients are having trouble keeping track and everything like that, so we are now providing a report back to our clients to say, these are your diabetic patients that you've billed for in the past. These are the ones that have had the 3 visits that you can now bill a Q0404. And we want to make sure that you're maximizing that you're billing all the necessary visits at the right times to get the full value, because that's a lot of money, about just over $200 a year extra per patient of out-of-basket services. So, a patient that's worth $200 a year that's a diabetic is now all of a sudden worth $416 a year. And that's a lot of money when you add it up. So the average roster, 120 to 140 patients, sometimes you have several hundred more than that. So it really is important to keep track of your diabetics and bill for them appropriately. Smoking cessation, E079, your first code when you have that discussion, in addition to an assessment, so an A7 plus the E079. Book 2 follow-up visits, the K039, Q042 if it's a rostered patient. And again, it's about $100 a year that you're going to get in additional income, out-of-basket income for someone who is trying to quit smoking. Again, it's hard. I know people, have trouble getting the patients to come back, but if you can, all the better. So your access bonus, patient management and outside use. This is what we're here for, accessibility. We want to make sure that we provide access to the patients that really need care. Outside use is a daytime access issue. You have to make sure that you have those same-day appointments available to your patients, because if they get sick, at night and they call first thing in the morning, you want to make sure that you can get them an appointment, that you can get them in as quickly as possible and not say, oh, come back in 3 days from now. That doesn't work for most people. They're sick now. They need to be seen now. Assessing the needs of your patients, trying to figure out what days of the week are busier than others. Mondays are usually busier, but keep track, and that's something that we can help with as well, to figure out what days to have more open spots or more staff or whatever needs to be done. Collecting emails of the patients. Email blasts are now, with technology, the easiest way to get information to patients, whether it's news about closures or new doctors or whatever it is that you want to get that information to your patients. Emails, quickest and easiest and cheapest way to do that. And as I said, providing extra hours on those busier days. So longer appointments, such as your physicals if you're still doing them, don't book them on a Monday, because people get sick on the weekend and are going to call in first thing Monday morning. Let's say, for example, Thursdays happen to be a really slow day for you guys. Book all your physicals on Thursdays. It's really about balancing, and there's no one size fits all. There's no, 1 month you're going to do this, and the next month it might work, it might not. So it's constantly evolving, constantly changing, and that's the benefit of working with a group like us. We get in front of you, we look at your data, we're constantly analyzing to see what's going on because things change on a regular basis, and you need to adapt along the way. So how do we manage outside use? So it really is hard to control patient behavior, but you want to try and educate the patients as much as possible. Let them know what the issue is with going to the walk-in clinics, the continuity of care, and if you're comfortable, you can talk about the money as well. Let them know that you're being financially impacted and the ministry is being financially impacted by double paying. It really is, again, a case-by-case basis, a patient-by-patient basis. Not having open spots during the day, very important. You can't fully book yourself and expect not to have outside use. It's not going to happen. If you don't have spots for patients to come in, walk in, call in, they're going to go to the walk-in clinic if they need to be seen. That's what we want to try and avoid. Patients are unaware of what's available to them. If you're part of a FIT, give them that information. If you're part of a FHO, give them that information about all the after-hours opportunities that they have, all the doctors that are available. If there's another doctor in your office that can see one of your patients if you're not available. And your referral patterns as well, making sure that you know who you're referring to, not sending your patients to a sports med doctor that doesn't have a focused practice designation, or one for addiction, or one for sleep medicine, or whatever the case may be. You want to make sure that you're providing the best possible service for them. Some of the best practices, analyzing the data, of course. You need to look at it on a regular basis. You need to know which of your patients are going to the walk-in clinics, what are they going for, how often are they going, and what is it costing you? Because ultimately, that's what we're here for. We're here to provide patient care, but also to make money. And you want to be fairly compensated for what you're doing. So we want to analyze the data to determine which patients to move from the roster to the fee-for-service buckets. Derostering back to the earliest date of outside use, or 6 months. Again, if you're doing this on your own, might be a little bit difficult to try and keep track and figure out and go back and forth to all the pages, but we do that for you. Again, it's a daytime access issue, making sure you have those urgent spots available. Ensuring the front office staff understand the FHO program, very important, very key, because they're the ones that interact with the patients on a regular basis, and they need to understand what's going on. So not only do you need to educate yourself and educate the patients, but you need to educate your staff and make sure that they're fully aware of what's going on. Educating the patients, as I said, flyers, posters, e-newsletters, e-blasts, everything. Every visit, new patients especially, need to know what's going on. Be aware of the red flag codes, so your general assessments, your special visits, your focused practice assessments, as I said, pain management, sports management, sleep medicine, addiction, all those types are high dollar value codes that we see come up on a very regular basis. So you need to know who you're referring to, or if you see those codes, deroster them right away, get rid of them, and then you can obviously bring them back on once they've stopped, if they have, or keep them as a fee-for-service patient moving forward. So what's the impact of derostering? A lot of people are come to me and they say, well, what happens when I deroster? I'm too scared to deroster. What's going to happen to the patient? What's going to happen with the ministry? What's the impact? So if you're going to deroster a patient, let's say back 6 months, you're going to be deducted the capitation that you were paid during that 6 months, but you're also going to be paid back any of the outside use that was incurred during that time. In addition to that, any visits that you've had with the patient in the last 6 months during that time period, instead of getting shadow billing if it was an in-basket code, you're now going to get the full fee-for-service value. It's going to get topped up to 100% value. As I said, all outside use is removed, given back towards your access bonus, and moving forward, still your patient, you're still going to care for them, you're just getting paid a little bit differently. You're going to be paid fee-for-service rather than capitation and shadow billing and fee-for-service, or however you were seeing them. So a little bit about our Cirrus outside use reporting. We have proprietary software that determines the patient outside use, the patterns, the trends, the cost-benefit analysis, and we use this to educate not only the physicians, but allow the physicians then to in turn educate the patients on what's going on. You can say to the patient, by the way, we know you've been going for ABC, what's going on, why didn't you tell me about it? Or if you're aware and you referred them, now it's your responsibility to deroster them, or if you can, refer them somewhere else, but most likely just deroster them. And again, providing that information and messaging to the patients and the staff. So at a very high level, our outside use report has a couple graphs. One, what are the codes that are being utilized? What are the days of the week that are being utilized outside the clinic? And it's very interesting that a lot of times, even if you're in the office for a longer period of time on a Tuesday, for example, and your outside use spikes on a Tuesday, that's not to say you don't have those spots open, but it could be that the patients that you referred out or that are going for addiction services happen to be going on Tuesday, and you just were never aware of it, but now you are. So it's something to keep in mind, and allows you to better plan your schedule. So some of the top contributors to outside use, again, we're looking at the cost-benefit analysis. So how much was I paid during that 6 months in capitation, and how much outside use was incurred, and what's the difference? What's the delta there that we're going to get back if we deroster the patient? And we're always going to give a list of 20 that have patients that are contributing, high contributors to outside use, and we want to know at what point it makes financial sense to deroster them. We're going to look at the number of services over the coming month, over how many months were being contributed. Very important to know. We want to look at what codes are being utilized as well. Were they going for A3s? Were they going for A7s? Were they going for, whatever the case may be? You want to know what they're going for, so it's very important to look at that. So we want to review the frequency, and we want to look out for those red flag codes that we mentioned earlier. So a little bit now about preventive care, as we're in September, and we want to look at, obviously everyone should have submitted their codes already, their tracking codes and billing codes. 12,800 available within that category, and we want to make sure that we're getting paid for what we're doing. Some of them are a little bit harder than others, but it's important to track and put in everything that you need to over the last little bit, and make sure that you're putting that March 31st deadline. So I hope everyone put that in already. If you do have any questions on that, I'm happy to help. So that's your ministry report, your target report that comes by paper still. You should have received it back in April for the previous year. Next month, you'll probably receive one for this current fiscal year. Again, it's very important to keep on track of that right from the beginning, right when you get that report, because you don't want to wait till the last minute to try and figure out who got what, who didn't get what. It's much easier if you do it on an ongoing basis. So some of your special premiums, 37,000 available across 8 different categories. Those 3 in blue came from, are in the FHO only. The other ones were available in the FIG model as well. But it's important to know that you don't have to do them all, and you don't have to reach the top level bonuses on all, but just be aware of what's available to you. If you're providing prenatal care, make sure that you're billing the P003 and P004 as needed. If you have serious mental illness patients, if you have the bipolar, you have the schizophrenic patients, make a list and bill them. If you're providing palliative care or office procedures or home visit or any of these categories, make sure you're billing the right codes at the right times in order to get these bonuses paid out. So some of the key takeaways for today: ensuring that the patients that are being seen in the FHO are actually on the roster. Again, capitation is the biggest driver of income, and we want to make sure that we're getting paid for the patients that we have and that we're caring for. Remember to submit the Q codes. Again, Q200, Q202 if it's a long-term care patient. That's the only way you're going to get them on the roster if there's no other special requirements for them. You have to bill those codes. Preventive care, make sure you're submitting the tracking codes and exclusion codes as you go, making sure that you're looking at those reports. So as I said, when you get the report next month, take a look at it. What have you done since April? What are you planning to do moving forward? Very important to plan and go get ahead of the game. Outside use is a daytime access issue. We want to make sure that they're coming to see us when they're available that there's spots available for them to see the patient, for them to see the physician, or one other physician within the FHO. You have the ability to deroster retroactively. So again, look at that cost-benefit analysis. How much am I earning? How much am I losing? And what's the difference? And when should I deroster a patient? We have that information for you. Most importantly, we are here to help. We're happy to answer any questions that you may have, whether it's a big question, small question, or anything in between. Don't hesitate. Send us an email. We're happy to help you. We're happy to work with you. We do have a lot of, as I can see on the client, on the participant list, there's a lot of clients that we have, which is great. We're here to help. We're here to make sure that you're doing what you need to do when you need to do it, and try and make your life a little bit easier. So that brings us to the end of the presentation for today. I thank you very much for joining me, taking the time out of your busy schedules. If you do have any questions, my contact details are there. Please do not hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to schedule a complimentary consultation with you and speak with you about your needs, your group needs, your clinic needs, and everything in between. And again, thank you very much, and have a wonderful day.